with Pong. You may remember that. It was a simple game where a ball basically bounced between two sticks. Well, today, whether it's on your Xbox, your Wii, or your PlayStation, video games have mind-blowing graphics and capabilities that can literally transport you into an alternate world. And it's a big business, too. The video game industry makes more money each year, you may not have known this, makes more money than Hollywood. The American Medical Association says 90% of kids play video games. But here's the disturbing part. As many as 5 million of those kids play so much that doctors had considered calling it a disorder. Here's our AFR correspondent Jam Sardar now with more on whether gamers are fanatics or addicts.
My best chance in a while.
Alex Greenblatt likes video games. He owns an Xbox, a PlayStation, and has some 30 games to help keep his fingers nimble. His current favorite? NHL 2K7.
Come on, wrap it around.
Alex skates, aims, shoots, and scores almost every day. Oh yeah, his Philadelphia Flyers get scored on, too. He'll wiggle his fingers for an hour or two a day, though he can recall entire weekends lost while exploring a new game. And this group of gamers say they get itchy trigger fingers if they're away from the screen for too long.
Some of the games are just so good that you just appreciate it, enjoy it, and want to play it.
But listen to what Alex said when we asked him if, in general, someone could be addicted to gaming.
I don't think it's an addiction like, heroin and things like that. I don't think it really should share the same word, addiction. I can stop anytime I want.
Alex and his friends may play a lot, but they play a lot less than many other people who have given their lives over to gaming. Some young people, most of them teenagers, can steer, brake, stab, and shoot anywhere from 4 to 10 hours a day.
Instead of spending their money on records, kids today are dropping quarters into video games. Games that are turning them into video junkies.
Saturday Night Live made fun of the video game junkie back in the 80s, but now it's no laughing matter, especially in this day and age where you don't have to go to the arcade to get your fix. Temptation is as close as your own TV or computer. One woman, who identified herself as Gamer's Mom, told her son's sad story on a website called Online Gamers Anonymous. By the end of 9 months at college, he was so wrapped up in his games that he was completely non-functional, she said. He kept telling us that he had stopped playing games, but I know he hadn't. He flunked bowling. I don't know what we will do when he comes home, but we have to do something. He's turning into a zombie.
I think it's a fairly serious problem.
Counselor Barry Bailey says getting hooked on video games is more of a compulsion than an actual addiction, but whatever you call it, it's still a serious problem. He says some kids turn to video games because they seek control over a situation or to escape the pressures of real life. The problem with too much gaming is that it stunts their physical, social, and emotional growth, something that could cause problems well beyond their teenage years.
Anytime you remove a young person from their developmental track and they're allowed to continue on a track that's contrary to healthy development, then that's going to create all kinds of problems that have to be fixed. They have to be addressed.
Very interesting. Alex, in your report, said that he could stop anytime he wants. Right. Yet he plays for hours every day. It kind of reminds me of the old Richard Pryor joke when he was asked if he was hooked on drugs. And he says, no, I've been smoking marijuana every day for years, and I'm not hooked. So again, we started out by saying that the AMA had considered making this, making it an addiction, calling it that. What did they decide?
They actually voted against calling it an addiction for several reasons. One of them is that unlike, say, drugs or alcohol, there's no physical withdrawal when you take apart, when you're pulled away from your video game. Also, by labeling it an addiction, some people didn't think it was appropriate for insurers, say, to have to pay money to help people get over their video game addiction. Well, I'll use the word, even though they decided not to classify it as such. Still, they're not saying it's not a serious problem, as we've seen by some of the examples we had here.
And not a serious problem should be classified, though, shouldn't it? It's not a serious problem to who? In this case, these gaming fanatics, okay? They're not hurting anyone, per se. So if this is not a problem for them, then they say, let's sweep it under the rug.
Right. Well, the doctors didn't vote to make it a formal classical addiction, but there are stories abound, and there are people who disagree. We've heard of stories about kids who skip showers, skip meals, play 10, 12 hours a day, you know, and it is a serious, absolutely serious problem.
These games are mind-boggling, and I'm no good at them. I'm glad, because I'd be on them more myself.
Yep.
But for all of the parents out there, and even the regular viewers who are playing these games themselves and don't know that they might be getting too far over the edge, what can they look for?
Several warning signs, and we'll run through a few of them here. First, as I mentioned, if people are skipping meals or losing sleep because of a game, that's one sign that they're carrying things just a little bit too far. Also, one of the tales we've heard many, many times are kids who are getting good grades until the addiction strikes, and then their grades just plummet. And if your grades are going down, or if you're, the way you work, your job is suffering as well, that's another sign that there's a problem. And finally, if there's a change in behavior, a lot of these have been kind of normal people who had normal interactions with friends and family. They start showing signs of rage or getting overly emotional or withdrawn from their friends and family. That's another serious sign that something's wrong, and you do need to get some help.
You talk about that change in behavior, and like a sports enthusiast, same thing with a video game enthusiast, that if they have been able to finally conquer that one level that has always stumped them and set them back, if they finally conquered it, they may have a good day when they go to school the next day or to work. But yet, if they've been defeated yet again, it could affect their attitude for
Absolutely. And one of the more addicting things we're seeing about video games is some of these online games that go on without end and continue on, and you can play whenever you want and pick up your character when you're back in front of the screen. Those kinds of games that you don't win after, say, your 3 periods of hockey are over, those are the games that can be particularly addicting and can cause a lot of serious problems.
It opens up a competitive level to the world, where you're competing with some guy in Asia or France or something.
Absolutely.
And you just never know. Hey, Jim, thank you very much. Good information, and let's hope that the warning signs that you put up will help someone. All right. Thanks, Jim.